So I want to express my joy for being encountering with a lot of old and new friends today. I want to also say I feel very blessed for being in Nepal. Some of you may wonder what that means. Well, different day, different blessings. And I'm not even talking about, some sort of a supernatural blessing. This morning, I felt blessed because I feel, and I think this is fairly usual every time I come to Nepal. I feel there is always this magic. Because when you are in Nepal, suddenly you have to suddenly I feel liberated from the world of science, reason, rationalism, and all that. And I know many of you young Nepalese, you don't realize this. You want to actually make Kathmandu into Queens. There's not so many places like this. I feel kind of like this when I'm in Bali, not because it's a holiday resort, nothing to do with that. Anyway, the title of our 3 days, whatever, big here is Nepal and something to do with the Buddhadharma, right? Now I have to tell you this. I know nothing about Nepal. I have to tell you this. Its geography, its history, its sociology, I really don't know. So from the anthropological point of view, you will gain nothing. But the reason I have chosen this title is because I want to express my feeling with Nepal, my feeling about Nepal. Plus, as a Dharma practitioner, probably, if you are lucky, they may have some Dharma here and there. And Nepal never ceased to enchant and surprise me, never. Just yesterday, I went to supposedly one of the oldest temple. I forgot the name. Can you tell me? Jamalpur? In case you want to know. And actually, I was very kindly invited by one of the Vajra Acharya. And he gave me a text that's written by, in Nepali, Leela Vajra. I think in Tibetan, I think it's translated as a Gekbi Dorje. Gekbi Dorje. I have confessed, I didn't know this Gekbi Dorje guy is from Kathmandu. I mean, I studied Tantra under many great masters, and the name of Leela Vajra has been mentioned many times. I never knew that he's just from here. And not only that, the Vajra Acharya who invited me happened to be something like the 42nd generation of the very Leela Vajra. He greeted me at the courtyard. Edges of the courtyards are filled with probably 1,000 years old water. And I've just been told there's a dengue fever outbreak. And also I shaved just before I went there. So like I was trying to get out of that courtyard. I felt really bad because here I am, the descendant of a Leela Vajra, talking about the, Gatha Tantra. and many other things. And I felt very uncomfortable. I felt very disrespectful. Just because it's in my head, I better tell you, otherwise I will forget. He was one of the greatest commentator of a tantra called Gatha Tantra, which is at the moment mainly preserved in the Nyingma tradition. And the Gatha Tantra is I have no words to express how important it is. I mean, I can't really, of course, I cannot, I have no knowledge to express the Gatha Tantra in a nutshell. But just to give you a taste of Gatha Tantra, the title of the Gatha Tantra is sometimes Jumchul Tawa in Tibetan, and just the title itself is mind-boggling. Sometimes the very same Jumchul Tawa is also referred as Dorje Samba, Vajrasattva, which you can buy as a statue in Dharma. But let's just talk a little bit about the word Jumchul Tawa. The Tibetan word Ju, Tul, has a lot of connotation. It even has some sort of a connotation of a trickery. It's like can't trust. What you see is not what it is. It's like sometimes the very word Jew or Tul is used as a derogatory to scold somebody on, there's an agenda in you, like that. And Tawa means sort of a web. Yeah. Now, what this text is talking about is that everything that we experience is basically Jumchul Tawa. I think the best example at the moment I can find is this carpet. When we think about a carpet, we think of one unit. But there's so many web, there's so many strings and all that. But we see it as one piece. So everything basically, also, okay, Jumchul also has the connotation of magical. And I want to talk about this because probably this is why Nepal is so magical. The greatest magic is that a lie and the truth is one. Good and bad is one. Big and small is one. This is the real magic. Not just that. I could look at this jar of glass as a water, and a goat or a buffalo will see this, I don't know, maybe not as a water, maybe something else. A fish or a small insect inside has a totally different view. And all that can be inside in this one jar. And this is how the life functions. And this is the truth that we need to know. And the Gatha Tantra basically teaches you that. Because usually we only see one side. Especially, like if you're looking at this carpet, you just see this one unit. If you're a carpet dealer, then you know how to sort of feel it, and is it genuine or is it well made? It's different. So anyway, when you fall into one-sided picture or a story, then no more magic. Then all the rationalism, logic, science, technology, all of that comes. Then you are forever doomed. Then actually, I think it's Leela Vajra. I have to check this, but I think he says that like a silkworm, I don't know why he used that. Silkworm, they spit something which becomes a spit or something, and then that very thread binds them. And then that's what happens. We create our own bondage, and then we die there. Anyway, Yes. So, as I said, Nepal never really ceased to surprise me. And I just, about few days ago, I went to actually near Mount Everest. Um, you guys should really change the name, from Mount Everest to something else. Chomolangma, at least. Anyway, that's just beside the point. Don't worry about it.
You say about.
And there, you have another world in near that region, the Sherpa land, and existence of such a community, culture, the way they think, is so precious. Anyway, I didn't plan to tell you these things, it just came out. I don't know. I came to Nepal, I was counting, 48 years ago, when I was 13. That was my first time. And there's a reason why I came at that time. Tibetans, Tibetan have this belief that astrologically, nothing to do with the Dharma actually, astrologically, when you are 13, and subsequently every 12 years or 13 years, you go through something called ka, which means like a really sort of dangerous sort of confluence of elements and so on and so forth. And also the Tibetans, yes, you can say they're very superstitious. We will talk about superstition maybe tomorrow more. I've also noticed that all of you, Nepal has a lot of superstition. Actually, the biggest manufacturer of superstition is MIT, but we will also talk later. Anyway, I was supposedly in that very dangerous year. So my grandfather brought me here, my mother's father. My grandfather actually was very active in restoring the Bauddha stupa.
Which
Restoration.
Which
the Bauddha here.
Buddha, okay.
Right? And he actually climbed up to the top of the Bauddha stupa something like 13 times because he was restoring. Since he was a Bhutanese, he also walked several times from Bhutan to Kathmandu, walked. Now, when you are at this age, then there is a tradition that we go to something called nekor, which is okay, we will explain this. This is, okay, I'm talking about Nepal now, okay? Nepal and Buddhadharma, so I'm talking about Nepal from my point of view. Now, this okay, just broadly means a place and kor means going round. The English word pilgrimage, I think, is not doing the justice of nekor. Because the English word pilgrimage does seem to have a connotation of an aim, some sort of a target. Strictly speaking, nekor, especially the word kor, is aimlessly wandering. Aimlessly wandering. It doesn't matter whether you reach to Tamil, Batan, Bhaktapur, it doesn't matter, you just aimlessly wander. That is magical. That is magical. When you have an aim, you are doomed. Yeah, we are going to talk about the aim later. I hope I will remember. My brain has become like a jelly, so sometimes it doesn't work. But let's discuss about the word ne, which is a very interesting word. The word ne, what do you say in Nepali?
Ne is tirtha. Tirtha.
What does that mean?
Just name means sthan. If you not relate with secular, non-secular connotation.
I see.
But when we talk about nekor, then we would say tirtha.
Okay. Now, the word, this ne, carefully translated from Sanskrit, I think, actually also refers to, like eye, ear, nose, which is very interesting. So we go to going round the Buddha stupa, aimlessly use your eyes, aimlessly look at things. That is blissful. No stress, because you are aimlessly looking, aimlessly listening to cows making noise, monkeys making noise, that forever going on that Buddham Sharanam Gacchami song that is always heard in Buddha stupa, whatever, aimlessly listening. Also, medically speaking, it also refers to a certain point of your elements. And I'm not going to go through that too much because I don't know. Like a certain point, I think this is a medical term. They still use the word ne. Now, this is even more interesting. In Vinaya, ne actually refers to your guru. Now that is so interesting because the word guru today, the word guru is so corrupted. But guru, even in the Vinaya, is the ne, it's the universe, it's the dimension. It is where you also feel home, so to speak. And according to numerology in Tibetan, the ne also refers to numbers like a 1, 2, 3. Now, one of the most important, which I'm going to tell you, is the word ne also means like sit, sort of dwell, like plop. Plop, right? Like just plop. Yeah. And also it refers to this moment. Now, these are very general understanding of the word ne. Since I'm talking so much, I'm sure some of you, I myself have lost my thread. I'm talking about my grandfather. Because I was 13 years old, I needed a nekor. Okay? He knows very well. I was a mindless teenager who know nothing, but he wants to just let the experience come to me. Now, something more profound. According to the Tantra, there's a supposedly 8 consciousness. And now I think the easiest, 8 consciousness, like eye consciousness, ear consciousness, so on and so forth. But what Tantra say, like a Gatha Tantra, that, Leela Vajra, what the Tantra says, this 8 consciousness is actually 8 general ground. I know many of you young Nepalese. Oh, by the way, to all the international listeners, since I'm addressing this more to my Nepali friends, so there will be a lot of Nepali-related sort of subjects. So if you can't fathom what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. I was going to say, many of you young Nepalese, now that you have been educated, so-called educated, especially you are educated with a Western education. I'm sure many of you young Nepali, in your mind, channel ground, cemetery, dead body, something so bad, something so bleak, like some horror movies kind of, reference. But if only you know your forefathers, the way they understand the channel ground is like just so profound. If you can go into that mindset, if you go into that mindset, if we can sort of see ourselves as a zombie in the channel ground, we are actually a zombie. I mean, zombie is the best word I can find in English, or rolang, basically. This morning, when you had cup of tea, for instance, when you had your breakfast, did you even realize that you were chewing chapati or, I don't know, aloo or whatever? Did you know? I'm sure you are thinking about something else. You are never there when you are doing whatever you are doing. You are just moving. That's all there is, so that you can qualify yourself as I'm living. And anyway, you are dying all the time. Judging from the way I see, most of you have done at least 20 birthdays. Yeah, you're all dying every second, every moment. And not just the body is dying, your idea is dying. Your taste, your, I don't know, feelings, your values, all are dying. Anyway, it's a big channel ground. Okay? So again, going back to Ne. So there 8 consciousness, 8 cemetery, suppose as 8 channel ground. And supposedly, Kathmandu or Nepal has several of them.
Any about
Outer ones. You know, in the Tantra, there's a full description of how the channel ground are. There's usually a stupa, by the way. I was told that Bauddha stupa is one of them. But can you see how associating ourselves with a living channel ground already, if you can appreciate, you can feel it's very magical, it's very blissful. Of course, you know, when I was telling about the stupa as the one of the stupa, I'm talking about outer, more symbolic, because symbol is very important for us. Without the symbol, we cannot communicate. And again, yeah, one of the attributes of the channel ground is also there's supposedly a Devi. Each has a Devi. So, according to the Tantra, several of these Devis are roaming around in land of Nepal. See, these are the reasons why somebody like my grandfather would just bring his grandson just so that he can immerse with this channel ground. Just one more thing about Nepal. As a Buddhist, if you are a Buddhist, I don't know whether there's any Indians here. We have to tease the Indians a bit. As a Buddhist, one could say that Nepal has much earlier connection to Buddhadharma than India. Because one of the earliest Buddha is Buddha Kashyapa. And then he is supposedly roaming around here before. Way before Shakuni Buddha. Now all these, for a lot of you, like the stories like the Kashyapa Buddha, Dipankara, maybe you will automatically categorize into legend. Legend and myth are so important. When you don't have legend and myth, you have no life. All you will have is an espresso machine and Amazon and the job, maybe. We will talk about the legend maybe again later. Now, I haven't found this from a text, but I have heard this from my grandfather. This is supposedly when Shakuni Buddha was a Brahmin. His name was Sumida. Previous life, so many eons ago. And one day, Mr. Sumida was roaming around, supposedly somewhere here in Kathmandu. And he bumped into this Dipamkara. And just the sight of the Dipamkara was just so magnificent. No other reason, just the sight is so beautiful. And he was so attracted to Dipamkara.
He was?
The Sumita was so attracted and so drawn by Dipamkara. And his eyes was glued to Dipamkara. And then suddenly he saw Dipamkara about to walk over a puddle in the mud. And then Sumita thought, oh, how can his beautiful, feet be soiled with this mud? So he took out his own hair and, covered the puddle and let the Dipamkara walk over his, what do you call it, mane, right? Mane. And it was at that time Dipamkara prophesied to Sumita that you will become the king of the Shakya, lion of the man, the lord of the biped called Shakyamuni Buddha. So, as you can see, I grow up with this kind of brainwashing, so much so that when I go through some of this puddle in the Mahakal Road, even today, sometimes I remember, this could be one of those. Okay, enough about Nepal for now. Oh, one more. I have to say this. That time I was staying somewhere called, it's not as far as that park. What is that park? It's very near Bauda. Jorpati, I think. It's near, right? Yes. Jorpati. Yeah. From Jorpati to Bauda, around 5, nobody dare to walk because mostly it's either paddy field or forest. They say there's a lot of leopard. Okay. So now, Dharma. I guess since for some strange reason I have this label and the look, and I guess you are here to hear something to do with the Dharma, right? Dharma has so many challenges. The biggest challenge is the hosting culture, the host culture and the human culture. It's always that. Host, like wherever the Dharma goes, the Japanese, the Korean, whatever.
Host means to host something.
Yeah, like Dharma come from India to Japan, and then the Japanese culture, like after Nirvana, attaining the Nirvana, Shakyamuni Buddha said, Sabjitotal vessel dumaji duzitabi chushi koi nye sulatenjang gowar minebe mimra najidapsun nebarja. If I loosely translate, basically he's saying, I have found something so brilliant, something so profound, but nobody is going to hear it, I cannot express it, so therefore I'm going to just stay quiet in the forest, something like this. In Europe, there was somebody called Ludwig Wittgenstein. The Europeans were really like shocked by, I think so, he was one of the pioneers. I think basically one of the things he said is language is vain. Language, any kind of language is vague. It's useless. You see, what Wittgenstein said was said 2000 years ago already by the Buddha. This is exactly what he's saying. Language is inadequate to express the Dharma. And the language is the most important, the most important culture, probably. And it's very strange that I am teaching Dharma to many Himalayan people in English. And there is definitely going to be lost in translation. I'm not talking about you. But this is what Buddha said. I cannot say this. There's no some German. I cannot express this. I cannot. Nobody's can hear it. Therefore, I'm going to keep quiet. But because we have a dukkha, and nobody wishes to have the dukkha, everybody wishes to have sukha, and because of that, path or some sort of a technique or a means end up becoming important. So, big part of Dharma, so-called Dharma that we practice, is a means, it's a upaya, it's a trick. Like the great Zen master said, it's not the moon, it's just the finger. And but we have to be so mindful about culture. Culture is necessary. You have no choice. You have to speak, you have to communicate. Language, that's already a big part of the culture. The culture always hijacks the Dharma. The Indian culture have hijacked the Dharma for a long time. But the Indian culture, Indian terrorists are not too, hijacker, the terrorists, they're not too strong nowadays. It doesn't mean much. For instance, like, when we make mandala offering, people also offer elephants. Elephant. 2000 years ago, Indians love elephants. And it's useful. If somebody give me an elephant, I will have a headache. So this kind of culture is still there in our ritual, like washing feet water. Tibetan lamas, they've offered this, but Tibetan lamas, they don't understand what is washing feet water, because they don't hardly wash feet. Wash body before. Have you seen Tibetan old thangka, how they paint lotus? They look so strange, because they don't have lotus. In cold weather, lotus doesn't grow. But it comes from the Indian culture, and the Tibetans, they love it. They Meto Pema. Like many people's name is Padma. There's a lot of Tibetan name, Pema. Generation goes by in Tibet without seeing one Pema. But they have a lot of Pema. Like Oma Hong, Benzo Guru, Padma Siddhi Hong. They chant like this. So this culture, I'm telling you these things, just to be mindful. Culture will hijack Dharma. Now, there's a new terrorist. It comes from Europe and America. The European and the American, they bring their culture to interpret shamatha, vipassana, bodhicitta, karma, etc., etc. And even that is evolving. If you look at the 1960s, like a Beatles generation, the way they interpret the Dharma, and today, how the West and the Europe interpret the Dharma, there's a lot of hijacking, a lot of cultural hijacking. By the way, I'm telling you this, there are a lot, there are so many, just as, there used to be a lot of Koreans and Japanese who really wishes to learn the Buddhadharma. There are a lot of Croatians, I don't know, Scandinavians, New Yorkers, San Francisco people who really wish to learn the Dharma. And they need to hear that their own culture could hijack. They should know this. And don't ever think that cultural hijacking won't come. It will come very, like in small dosage. No, it comes really, really big dosage. For instance, when an Indian say good karma, when a Bhutanese say good karma, when a Tibetan say good karma, when a English say good karma, the word good has a totally different meaning. Very subtle. There's a history. There's a history behind the word good. So this is why there's all this strange question that, how come? Donald Trump can lie all the time, but he's always successful. What kind of good karma he had? So this is something that we have to be aware of. Okay, maybe we should have a tea break. No? The word Dharma has so many connotations. Many times, I'm guessing this is my guess. Many times in places like India or Nepal, Dharma seems to be always end up getting interpreted as a duty, which I'm not saying is wrong. I think the word Dharma does imply that sometimes. Then generally the Buddhist also ends up associating Dharma as something holy. Again, I'm not saying it's wrong, but it's not enough. Basically, I think, in the Tibetan word, it's che. The Dharma, Sanskrit language translated into Tibetan is che. You could say that the whole Tibetan language, the evolution or the genesis of the Tibetan language is probably, it was made, almost created to translate the words of the Buddha. So, what do you say Dharma in Nepali?
Dharma.
Really? Okay. What does it mean? A lot of things?
My mind is already adulterated, Rinpoche, so I cannot really speak on that, but
I see.
You should ask with the audience.
Okay. Yeah, that's good, yes. See, what you just said, Our mind is already set to something when we use this language, when we use the word dharma. So this is where, again, as I said earlier, you have to be so mindful of culture and the whatever tradition. Okay, I will try to explain this. Let us use the word Buddha. So, if you ask a Buddhist, what is it that you want to, what is your aim? Okay, since you are a Buddhist, you must have a goal. What is your goal? Most probably, they will say, to become Buddha. But what actually it means, to be Buddha, what actually it means is to awaken. And that is actually so fundamentally simple. I know a lot of us, when we say to become Buddha, you are already associating, okay, when I become a Buddha, I will have something extra on my head. I will never have to use forever any of these golden tan lotion because you'll become a gold. And so on and so forth. It gets worse, actually. Probably I will never sort of stomp. I will walk so gently. But to become Buddha, actually, what it really means to awaken. The Tibetan word sang, which is a direct translation of the word Bud, is to awaken. So this is something that we need to really understand. So when we say, like Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, I take refuge to the Buddha. A big part of that, it really refers to, I take refuge to the fact that I can be awakened. So, okay, and let me explain a little bit about cultural hijacking. So then there's something called practice, Dharma practice. Now, this is a big, big, big subject, and we need to really talk about this. Dharma practice. Immediately it refers to a rosary, circumambulating the stupa. No, chanting, sitting, that's it. Sitting, oh my goodness, that's one of the great big one. Being quiet. See, it always ends up associating with these things. What we really mean by awaken is, after this gathering today, this morning, after this gathering, when you say goodbye to your friend, and when you say it, as you say goodbye, as you say, see you tomorrow, 9 o'clock at Hyatt, as you say that, part of you, if you think, well, that may not happen, because you may have a different plan, because you may get choked with a roti on your throat and you may die tonight, right? So if there is that sense of, okay, yeah, of course, as a, good human, good behavior, you say, okay, tomorrow, see you tomorrow, 9:30 here, you say this, but you don't really trust that. That is a little bit of awakening. It doesn't mean that you suddenly will have a lump here, or you will suddenly walk gently, or you will have a begging bowl. But we are talking about just awakening to the truth. Okay? So I'm talking about the whole principle of Dharma. Because one of the most essential meaning of the Dharma is the truth, right? The truth, the reality. Okay, so this truth is, taught, presented in many, many different ways in Buddhadharma. So many, many ways. This is something so great about, discussing Dharma in Nepal, because, unlike many other places, you are surrounded by all the symbols, right? So it's so nice to, I feel kind of more, I don't know, I don't have to put in extra effort. So these truths, as I was saying, these truths are presented many, many ways, many ways. For instance, I have noticed that the Newari tradition, the Newari Buddhists, they practice Chakrasambhara. And the Chakrasambhara truth, let's call it Chakrasambhara truth, it's a really, really infinite. If maybe one of these days we will talk a little bit about the principle of Chakrasambhara and the Vajrayogini. Yes, but the thing is this: there's a challenge. The challenge is because then again the culture always hijacks. For instance, a big player, sort of, in the Nepali Buddhism is Manjushri. Well, there's even a legend or a story, if you like, story or a legend. Well, I don't think it's a mere legend, but for the sake of communication, let's call it a legend. I'm sure you know, the Kathmandu's original name is Manju Patana. And actually the city planner was Manjushri. That's what I have heard. And because he wanted to present to the world the Swayambhunath. Because while he's sort of hanging around in Mount Wutaishan in China, as he faced towards, the Kailash, the mount here, the Nepal, he saw this beautiful ocean. And then he saw this beautiful flower in the depth of the ocean. And he thought, oh, what a shame, nobody's seeing this. Lotus is inside the ocean. So he came here and he drained the ocean, which there's even a place called Tsoradi. I don't know, what do you say it in Nepali?
Tsovar. Yeah. Tsovar. Tsovar.
Oh, okay. So, and then anyway, he then also supposedly brought or manifested a lot of artisans who can really do silversmith, the carving of wood, and so on and so forth. And supposedly, this is why the Nepalis are such a great artist. And I'm sure you know this. If you don't know this, you should know this, that Nepalese artists were responsible for actually designing great monuments such as White Pagoda in Beijing, which is still there. That was like 2,000 years ago, I think. And Lhasa, Jokhang Temple, all the design is done by Nepali. It is very visibly Nepali, actually. The lotus of that art really looks like lotus. But anyway, supposedly all this is connected to Manjushri. And I have also encountered a lot of Nepali. When I was growing up in Sikkim, there's this, Palpo, we call them Palpo, which means Nepali, right? Yeah. Is it? Palpo?
Yeah.
And he's a silversmith, and we used to travel together. And he has a thick volume of prayers he does every day. And later I found he was reading Manjushri Namasangiti. Oh. And in Patan, in Dharma, there's so many. Today you can buy Manjushri Namasangiti statues and paintings. In Dharma, somebody did such a beautiful Manjushri Namasangiti paintings. Sort of, well, he's sort of a modern artist, I think. Yeah, he did it with an idea that during the earthquake on the wall, sort of appearing the Manjushri Namasangiti. Very beautiful. But now everything what I just said, you can just call it myth, legend, can be cynical, whatever. And I'm telling you, actually, Buddhists are the most cynical about this symbolism. Cynicism of the great people like Chandakirti and Nagarjuna, nobody can beat their cynicism and criticism. You know Manjushri Namasangiti, right? Okay, usually Manjushri has, like us, one head, two hands, all that.
Yeah, Buddha.
And then Manjushri Namasangiti has extra hands. It's all symbolism. We don't think about like what kind of t-shirt he would wear. So I want to just share with you that Nagarjuna's praise to Manjushri, plus it's the most beautiful cynicism. Yeah. Jagarketu Aryabhatta Raka Manjushri Parama Artha Satuti Nama Beyoketu Papa Jitsun Jambalji Tantambi Tobashejavan Jambal Chunujurvala Chatsalo Jamba Mala Shuminga Jengba Mala Jugminga Jiten Pali Shindunde Siglende Bijoyulang Gombochola Jither Venchan Jitin Takdinji Choni Jinda Tejin Dagi Kubel Lamart Ngoni Majid Chola Java Yongminga Gombo Shigdan Cheminga Neme Chola Chasa the Chola Ngedang Ememi Chebamala Tezumi Chodamala Midami Nime Chola Chasa Mardang Jangdang Legenda Serdang Kardang Namala Chola Kado Yeminga Dodger Chola Chasa Cheni Chedang Chumada Bondang Chaba Cheminde Ringdang Tungi Kamala Seme Chola Chasa Shebe Silla Miniji Inji Shilla Minute Yangende Kormini Minechola Chasa Chenam Gina Miniji Chugun Topatus Chodu Saba Nidemba Saba Chola Chasa Dada Tena Terrangi Shendu Chola Chidatu Chenam Tamji Tongbala Sula Dojin Sui Tama Chijin Umachi Zungdang Zimba Nambang Dodger Chola Chasa Lamangumba Jambi Jamyangi Tandamia Yanda Tsenju Sonam di Jitendi Devarship Davar Show Jamber Jizun Papa Jizun Jamber Jitan Metabashi Chimbo Gumbu Lopin Chimbo Ludubi Shangan Zabazoso. I had to read the complete because I just love this so much. Okay. So this is a praise by Nagarjuna to Manjushri. Okay, why do we pray? Why do we praise somebody? Hey, your shampoo smells good. Your shampoo smells good. You know, what a beautiful ankle you have. I love your thumb. I just love the way your two nostrils are there. It doesn't matter anyway. Maybe the modern way is thumbs up or thumbs down symbols. Symbols, right? So this is a Nagarjuna's praise to turn them, the real way or the ultimate way to praise Manjushri. Okay, and I will just very badly, loosely translate. You have never come. You have never come. You have never gone. You never stand up. You never sit down. You were never born. You do not even exist. You will never expire. You are not red. You are not green. You are not orange. You are not yellow. You are not white. You are not black. You don't know what is color. You are beyond color. So all that list, the long list, I'm not going to go through all that. Okay, and then Nagarjuna said, how do I praise you now? Because, when you praise, you need to have something, your shampoo feels like a lavender. You need to have a reference. You have to have reference. But I have no reference with you. You are not big, you are not small, you are not tall, you are not short. Even an attempt to praise you even an attempt to praise you, just that attempt is already a mistake. But for the sake of us who love symbol, who can't do without symbol, who are addicted to symbols, who are symbol junkies, so I shall praise you. You are orange, you are white, you have 4 hands, you have sometimes 2 hands, you have sometimes 1 million hands. And all this, what I just told you, is the Yangdabitsen, meaning it is the name. Manjushri Nama Sangiti, right? Nama is name, right? Manjushri's name is all this what I just told you. You know, I just told you something contradictory, right? No, 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 no. Yes, 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 yes. Yeah, all that is the Manjushri Nama. And I will sing that song. That's the Sangit, I guess. Oh, we can talk about the Sangit, the song, for hours. What is Sangit? Sangit. Sangit. How do you?
Sangit.
What Sangit?
Music is Sangit, yeah.
Yeah. What is Sangit? It okay. You know, it is okay. Sangit here. You know, I'm sure you guys by now, because it has become a fashion, vipassana meditation. So when you hear the word mindfulness or vipassana, what do you think? What do you associate? It's always associated with sitting, meditation cushion, Goenka, Myanmar, 9 days, bone ache, right?
Okay.
But in the Manjushri Nama Sangit, this Sangit is the vipassana, because when you are immersed with no color, no green, no white, no black, but yes green, yes blue, yes white, yes everything. This, containing this, is the supreme most vipassana. Because Sangit, the music dispels boredom. Music dispels the sort of, what do you call it, melancholy, you know, like sadness, sort of, you know, that vacuum, the emptiness, right? So then you sing, right, isn't it? Why are we bored? Why are we so lonely? Why we feel so alienated? Because we either choose green or no green, tall or short, 60 kilos or 40 kilos. That's why we get bored. Now I'm talking in riddle, I'm sorry, but this is what happens when you read text by Nagarjuna. But when you can understand this dharma, this truth, that, you know, it's neither green nor blue nor white, but it is blue, is green, is black, then suddenly the life is full, abundance, music, sangit. Anyway, again, sorry, you know, losing thread a little bit. I'm talking about dharma, okay? So I'm talking about definition of the dharma. It can refer to discipline, it can refer to duty, it can refer to holy dharma. But the most important is, it is associated with the truth. Such as when you say, see you tomorrow, part of you telling you, maybe that's not possible. Maybe it will happen, maybe it won't. That's quite good. That's quite good. For instance, and also there's other truth, like one of my desire is go to Saigon, Vietnam, during the monsoon time. And the Saigons have a lot of coffee shops that's upstairs, not downstairs. And lots of plants. You know, those Vietnamese, they're so good at plants. And I love these Vietnamese coffee with concentrated milk beneath. And maybe today my desire is to go there, overlooking these plants and the, you know, the veranda, suddenly torrential rain, I'm drinking a coffee. That is my desire right now. But if part of me tells myself, it's not 100% satisfaction, there's always a dukkha. Nothing has 100% satisfaction. That kind of mindfulness, that kind of knowledge is what we talk about, the Dharma, the truth. Okay? So based on this kind of way of understanding the Dharma, I will try to sort of talk about three liberation. We call it Namthar Gosum. Namthar Gosum. And this is hopefully the understanding of the three doors of liberation will give us more, I don't know, give us more tools to watch out to cultural hijacker. Remember hijacking, cultural hijacker? Okay, this is kind of a big subject. Before I jump into this, do you think people want to ask some questions? Is there arrangement for questions like Mike?
Yeah, so we have standing microphones on both sides of the stage. Please line up by the microphone. If you have any questions you would like to raise, your questions should be related to the topic of the teaching. Thank you.
Hello, Rinpoche. I have a question. You were mentioning about the Gatha Tantra in the beginning of the teaching. So you were talking about the Gyuntrul Dhava. So is that not a reference to the Mayajal instead of Gatha? I was a bit confused.
I think the word Maya is used sometimes. But the Guhya Garbha has a very long and many names. Names, now this is okay. This is again a culture, right? The Indian and therefore, I guess, Nepal, therefore, India, Tibetans, names are very, very important. Sometimes like some especially some deities or even human beings have like several names. Mahakali has 1,000 names, and some names are, and just like that, even the texts or the teachings have also different names, and they're not just arbitrary and just trying to be poetic. Each one has a specific purpose. Some names are more path oriented, the others view oriented. Okay, do you want to ask?
Yes, hello, sir. It's nice to meet you. I don't know if this question is off topic, but I was wondering, as humanity evolves, I was wondering why humans keep fearing each other more and more and getting closed on each other more and more.
I think human beings have an identity crisis more and more. And the Buddhist answer to the identity crisis is that there is no identity. Yes?
Many sadhuvas. Is it working? Many sadhuvas to you, Rinpoche. I'm very happy that I'm here, and thank you, and thanks to my wife who brought me here. I have a very stupid question. I was brought up and born here in Nepal, did all my schooling here, and I always wondered why we as Nepali children never taught about Buddhism. And all of a sudden, we're riled up about where Buddha was born. Me, personally, I always have this question. Anytime somebody mentions Buddha was born in Nepal, it's like, yes, that is me. I need to support that. And at the same time, when I look back and then start trying to learn about Buddhism, I feel that I don't know anything. So my question to you is, how do I rationalize my thought about getting and then start from the ground up.
From the ground. Okay. Okay. I think there's many reasons. Well, first, I will just give you. I appreciate what you said. Appreciate what you said. Yeah, I mean, there's many reasons. I think. Like in India, for instance, hardly any Indians know who Nagarjuna is. But many people know who Karl Marx is. And of course, they all are so proud that they know Shakespeare. So there's all that element. I think also because, again, we're going back to our question, Dharma, because Dharma has so much to do with the truth. So I think there is no zeal or that kind of passion with the Buddhists as a sort of, like basically what I'm saying is the Buddhists are really bad with marketing. I mean, I always said this, like, there's no Buddhist marriage, for instance, wedding ceremony. There's no Buddhist wedding ceremony. I really suspect lot of, Korea used to be one of the most populated Buddhist country, Korea. But I suspect that a lot of Koreans, they become Christian because, the Christians have a very good wedding. Because how do you do the Buddhist wedding? It's very awkward, During the wedding, you cannot really say, you two are married, but probably you may get divorced tonight because of impermanence. Then it won't work. But I think, okay, this is my personal feeling. I have been sort of mingling with some Nepali young people, and a lot of these so-called educated young Nepali, I think there is a very big chance they will awaken to the Buddha's words. Because it's sort of in their gene. Okay, I will tell you one story.
एउटा कथा भन्छु म तपाईलाई
I was very encouraged. One day I was very encouraged. I thought, okay, Buddhism will grow again in Nepal. And my reason is very childish, but nevertheless, it's a reason. Because I saw Nepali people putting garland on the dogs. There's a dog day. What is it called?
कुकुर तिहार
Yes. They put a garland on the dogs. I thought, wow, so beautiful. Buddhism will come. Because it's really the most useless thing to do. Dogs don't even know what that is, right? And many of the dogs looks like they're not so comfortable. But this is what made me think, okay, they haven't lost the magic. Don't send your children to Harvard. Because when they come back, they will not do this. Because when they come back, graduated from Harvard, they will become the most weak person.
Weak?
Weak, so weak. They have negated everything. What I'm saying this, actually, I'm talking to a Harvard person who's listening right now. What else? Wait.
Okay. First of all, thank you for coming to speak with us, Rinpoche. I'm wondering, we talk a lot about the ways that Buddhadharma gets hijacked by culture, and I think it's really easy for us, if we sort of examine it, to see the many ways in which that's true. But I think, on the other hand, to a certain extent, maybe it's a bit inevitable, given that in order for Buddhadharma to be useful to people, it has to be communicated through some sort of medium. So I'm wondering, A, if you would agree with that, and also, B, if you do, what do you see as some of the more creative uses of the interaction between culture and Buddhadharma in order to propel it forward?
Very good. That's a really important question. Needs a very big answer, but probably no time. But I will share you an expression from the Nyingmapa people. It's quite a good expression. They say, "Tabi zongdushu gombi tangle troll." It's such a beautiful expression, which means one should be secure and be in the castle, the fort of view.
Of
Fort.
Fort of?
Castle. Fort. One should be secured. You know, like when you are fighting,
Yes.
you need to be protected, right? A fort of view. So the view, you really should pay attention. Gompi Tanglitol, such a beautiful expression. What it means, practice, such as meditation, is like a terrain. Even though you have to use it, you should never trust it. You should always think, okay, I might fall from here. Terrain, practice, path. Meditation is like a terrain. If you have these two, it doesn't matter whether you got marinated for 100 years in Kathmandu or marinated 100 years in Wyoming, you will be okay. Yes, please.
Hello, Rinpoche. I have a question. How can we deal with symbolism catalogizing in our life? Because it's everywhere and all the time. Is it just by sitting and breathing? Yeah, thank you.
Will you be here tomorrow? Well, you are supposed to say, well, maybe, right? Anyway, I want, remember I was wanting to talk about 3 liberation?
Yes.
So the second liberation, the liberation from symbol or sign, I think we will talk about that.
Hello, Rinpoche. So my question is, I've been taught that according to Nyingma tradition, the deity is the reality. And I don't understand why a deity wearing strange clothes with color, size, with all the dualistic characters is the reality.
Okay, this also during the second liberation, I will talk. Please.
Thank you for your precious teachings. So my question is a little bit technical. I'm a student from RI. So you were talking about the host culture and the Buddhism being passed on from culture to culture. So my question is, as mantras, which is a big part of Buddhist practice, pass on from Sanskrit to Tibetan, Chinese, Japanese, Korean. I was wondering if you think there's a correct way for us to practice mantra practice, and following up on that, if we chant mantras without knowing the meaning of the mantra at all, do you think that's still a meaningful practice? Thank you.
Well, I have to admit, I'm a big sucker of blind devotion. Blind devotion. It just doesn't matter. Even I don't understand the meaning. This has a power. I have that kind of, cultural thing, you can call it. And anyway, sometimes by knowing a little bit of a meaning doesn't do that much. And mantra is a very big subject. I chant mantra while watching Netflix because at least my mouth is occupied by mantra instead of some other, like garbage, I don't know, some useless thing. So, again, I'm talking about the motivation and your view about it. And pronunciation, really I think doesn't matter because of the different, elements. Indians, they say Vajra. Nepali people say Bajra. And I think this is where Tibetans got Banzar. And it looks like the Japanese don't even have Ha. Japanese don't have Ha. They say Swaka.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter. Motivation counts. Your view counts. Not all vowels has to be there, I think. I mean, cats have like only 2 vowels, right? Maybe 1. And they still communicate. Okay.
Thank you for your teachings, Rinpoche.
This one last. Okay.
So in COVID, I got stuck in Vipassana Center for 2 months. So I ended up doing 2 months of sitting meditation, and my faith in Three Refuge and the teachings that it was also see the reality as it is. It was not for stress relief or anything like that. And since 3 years, I've been practicing that. But to hear about, I think you criticize Vipassana. I am like, and you explore Tibetan Buddhism, and there's so many things in Tibetan Buddhism. We don't really understand where do you start from. So my question is, for a beginner, where is the starting point for understanding Dhamma? If it's not Vipassana, thank you very much.
If you can just begin with anicca, dukkha, and anatta, this is very good enough. Even if you can't do all three, just anicca, impermanence. Because the Buddhist teachings on impermanence is actually it's a ploy, trick. It's like what Buddha really wanted to teach you is shunyata, but it won't fit in your mouth, can't digest for now anyway. So make it a little bit sweetened, make it a little bit easy to digest is anicca. Yeah, so that's already good enough. Okay. Yes? Oh, you have a question?
No. It's from Zoom. We have some questions from Zoom. This one could be from me, though. It's not, but it could be. Aren't rationality and science a way to enter the Dharma?
Can you repeat that question? I didn't get it. Rationality and science?
Yes. Aren't rationality and science a way to enter the Dharma? As in, also, could they not be a way to enter the Dharma?
Yes, of course. Of course. But I think whoever's asking these questions, they should also keep in their mind, rationalism can be very, very blinding. Okay, this last question.
Please accept first my humble offering and homage to you, Guru Rinpoche. My question is, as I understand that in the end, Dharma has no form, how do I know I have awakened? Or how do I see that the person I'm talking to is an awakened person?
Can I answer this part of the question tomorrow? But the second part I will answer you now. Make him or her miss lunch and dinners. Whoever you are trying to test whether he is awakened or not, make him or her miss lunch and dinner for a few days. I'm not saying that he may still alive or not alive. I'm not even talking about that. Just check his mood. But even then, you have to be careful because he or she can be pretending. Some people can go on fasting a long time. Okay, I think we will stop here today. Very much lunchtime. I was going to ask you to sing a Nepali song, but I forgot the title. So maybe do it tomorrow.